Claudette Davis-Bonique had been a pattern cutter, couture dressmaker and lecturer for approximately 30 years. In 2010 she met Lance, who was born blind. Lance changed the way she looked at learning and teaching and what is possible forever. He simply asked, "What could you teach me about your job?"
And my whole ethos in life has been give it a go. And if at first you don't succeed, try again.
Is this angle here?
So after Claudette's encounter with Lance, she proposed an action research plan to explore whether or not it was possible for students with visual impairment to achieve a professional level of pattern cutting at a mainstream university. The questions Claudette posed were: 1. What reasonable adjustments would be necessary? 2. What would be the possible obstacles? And 3. How could they be overcome? Claudette collaborated with the Thomas Pocklington Trust, a charitable organisation that provides educational, employment and independent living support for blind and visually impaired people. They introduced her to 6 participants with visual impairments so she could carry out a 5-day workshop. This is stage 2, where we followed 1 student and 2 participants on their journey.
Hey, my name is Candice. I study fashion contour at the College of Fashion, which is lingerie and swimwear. I have a condition called myasthenia gravis, which is a nerve problem which currently affects my eyes. Sometimes when I get fatigue, my eyelid might start to droop, I might get double vision or blurred vision, but it gets better with rest.
Hello, I'm Mikkel, and I am a participant on Seeing is Believing. And my eye condition is called hemanopia, left and right. I see closely within a metre, but not in detail, and it's all light dependent and contrast dependent, so white and black and white. Colours like that, any colour that contrasts helps me see a little better, although I need to see closely with magnification for me to see clarity and detail.
Hi, I'm Shaz. I'm participating in Seeing is Believing. My eye condition is called Peter's anomaly, which affects your corneas, the front of the eye, which can sometimes create a glare or haziness long distance. So close up, it's okay, but if I look into the distance, it's a bit blurry.
Using the digitizer today was trial and error, and trying out different bits of magnification and seeing which works. Finally, for me, the magnification that worked for me was an electric magnifier, which is a screen which magnifies very strong, with lines drawn on another screen, so I can see the detail of what I'm trying to complete. But it is visually tiring, but it's a great experience.
Amazing, really. I mean, it's impressive that we can use technology like that and put it straight onto the computer. So this is new to me and something that I can use for the future.
It was challenging, but I'm glad I got the opportunity to use it. I think with time and with practice, it would maybe become easier. There's a couple of things I'd change on it, like I'd make the line a bit darker, and I think I just found a different way of using the digitizer, which was, for me, I think it was a bit more efficient.
One of the really important things I think the Seeing is Believing project has done in both its phases is to help us look at what looked like it was impossible beforehand. A number of preconceptions have been overturned in relation to what students with problems with their sight or who are totally blind may have in considering a creative arts education. a number of those problems that we saw, whether they were physical problems to do with how to access the curriculum, how to be able to engage with key practices like draping on the stand or cutting or pinning or designing, all those kind of obstacles seem to have largely been blown out of the water by the kind of research that Claudette has undertaken, and I think that's one of the most critical things that the project has contributed.
I do think that education has become very visual-centric, which could be a disadvantage for visually impaired students. Marshall McLuhan said, I think once, that all our assumptions are out of date, so I agree with that. So this project probably is very good for exploring some of the aspects of curriculum and education that could be improved and made more innovative. From my point of view, I did have one experience with a blind student, and one thing I learned, or several things I learned from that, is that even though we say a picture tells 1,000 words, the value of words then becomes very important to the blind or visually impaired student. And then I learned I had to adapt my teaching to suit that person. So the sensory element in words was what was important, and that's what I learned. And the value of repetition, and realizing that language uses metaphors all the time. So with regard to education, I think there's almost 70% of what we teach now is visual, but I do think that the blind have been liberated somewhat because of the use of audio. So we have audiobooks now, e-books, and hypertext. So study support, when we look at students, we look at them, we assume really that they've got a lot of the problems like dyslexia or dyspraxia and have elements of problems that they need help with, and it's based on the multimodalities theory, and we just assume that everybody needs multisensory techniques. So I'm very glad to hear that this project is going ahead. I think it could be very innovative for us to devise practical and flexible ways of teaching that could be incorporated into the curriculum.
I'd like to see how you feel about these. So this is the back of your pants, and when you draft the back, I'd like you to try that one, and you can give me your opinion on whether you prefer to use this thin version or this tactile with that stuck on. So it comes originally like this without, so I've just fused it onto there for you. So far, what do you think?
So far, it's very helpful.
So when you're comparing it to using this, do you think you get on with that?
It's a lot more sturdier around the edges, and the letters are raised, so it's a lot more helpful.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so finish drafting that one, and then we'll have a go at doing the back and see how you cope with using that one.
Okay.
Okay? Well, we're going to go with these, and we can modify that as you go.
Okay.
Okay? So the first thing we need to do is to draw a grain line.
Okay.
And the grain line, we've already prepared your stand. Okay, so you've got your tactile line down the front, and we're going to work on the right side. And as it's a kimono, we've put the arm on so you can drape right across. Right, so we're going to draw just a straight line that represents your grain line that we're going to pin on. So I'll just hold that down for you. Yep. Okay, you're doing well.
Getting nervous.
Okay, what we're going to do, we're just going to extend the line so that we've got the full length of this violin that we're using. Okay, hold on 1 second. Get that out the way, yeah. So try and get the line onto it. Can you feel?
Yeah.
Right, try and pin to the side of it that's
Across.
it. Yeah, that's fine. You're doing well. Right, Mikhail?
I'm not doing it, I am?
Yes. Okay, so you're drawing on your grain line to put onto your stand, which we're going to look at, because you said you wanted to do a skirt. Yeah, here it is. Sorry. Right. So here's the sketch we discussed earlier. You said you wanted it fitted at the
Waist. Yeah.
and then flowing out at the bottom, and then flowing out again. Is that to your liking, sir?
Yeah,
Okay, let's pin that fabric on the stand then, okay? Okay, how's it feeling?
Not really. Hasn't got enough.
Okay,
Yeah.
right. Can you then see how it's starting to just get very smooth?
Yeah. No.
And can you feel the side seam along here? So all you need to do now is to pin that up to the side seam.
Okay.
Okay.
Claudette came and gave us a little talk about what she's working on, her Seeing is Believing project, and it's made me think about possibly how I could reflect on my teaching practice within my course and with my course team, so that we might be able to facilitate partially sighted or vision impaired students joining our course in the future. We have a lot of dyslexic students in our course cluster at the moment, as many as 25% in some groups. We've had to think about visual ways of teaching them. So my thoughts were thinking about sensory ways to teach students who might want to join the contour courses, or possibly running a pilot with Claudette. It could be something that would be really interesting. Technically, for contour, we have to work on very difficult drafting techniques for some realisation, but more and more our students are working with block patterns. So my thoughts here were perhaps like on Braille for books, the marking and the international symbols and terms that we use on patterns could be made into some sort of Braille format, so that students could touch the patterns and feel the markings and learn about the information on the patterns. The other thing that I think is even more easily attainable, a lot of our students work in 3D development when they're working on projects, bras, swimwear, nightwear. We have 3D stands, and students work with the fabrics that they're going to use for the final garments on the stands. So again, perhaps with somebody to guide them, but just using their touch, their sensory perceptions, they could quite easily start to develop items of nightwear and lingerie. And also the advantage, because it's small pieces, they could actually touch all the pieces of a bra and maybe get a feeling for what the shapes of these pattern pieces are in their heads just from touching them.
Wow, that's really nice.
Now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this is good. Great. Great. Oh, wow, I've just found the magic zip. Oh, wow, the top looks good too.
The Seeing is Believing project was incredibly interesting. It was, I think, a really important pilot that started to really unpack some of the issues faced by disabled people, visually impaired people in relation to fashion design. I was lucky enough to go along to the celebration event at the end of the project, and it was amazing. It was really incredible to see the joy and real sense of achievement by everyone involved, not just the students but also the staff that were involved as well, and I think that's been a really important stepping off point and catalyst for the further work that Claudette's been doing in this area.
I didn't really have to feel that I ever needed to take on board from my side that there was any impairment to anybody, because they all joined in and had opinions and had produced fashion, and that's what I'm used to people doing. I'm used to working with designers who produce clothing, and then I've got to make it look a certain way. And that was exactly what I did today. So in some terms, there was nothing different. I sort of feel that as a college or as any institution, as any business, will make provision for people in wheelchairs to access a building. In the same way, they can make provision for people with visual impairment. And a lot of that, from the feedback we've had today, is just a few small adjustments, particularly lighting. But then lighting helps everybody. And often that is a problem in any older building, is that lighting can be quite poor. So good lighting would benefit everyone. It's not just for people who might have a slight visual impairment. I think any creative process comes from within people's minds. And as long as they can find a way to get their ideas across, then they have as much right to do that as anybody else. And will probably have as good, if not better, ideas, because that comes from them. It's got nothing to do with any impairment. So it's been a good day. It's been really positive, and I think they were very pleased with what they got. And I think when they see the photographs and the video, I think they'll be very excited. Hopefully everyone will.